Welcome. This is video 2 about the upper body. Exercises for the upper body are many and varied. There are dozens and dozens of them with body weight. There are a few main ones which help, and there are some devices now being brought out which really do help. So buying them is a worthwhile situation. I mean, we have a normal chair, we have a set of simple rotational handles which have far more to offer than people realise. The person that actually developed this, I think, had little idea of how much potential these have in terms of safety. And we have dumbbells. You're familiar with them all, except perhaps some of you not with these. But they're a fad, and some of the instruction leaflets are not what they should be in terms of safety. But I'll endeavour to show you here today how you can use them safely. Now the first thing we'll cover with the body, okay, is the triceps, the rear upper arm muscles, which when you use it doing something called a dip, it uses here, it's called the trapezius. This is a very big muscle. It seems to be only here. The trapezius in actual fact starts here and finishes here. It's a massive manta ray down your back. It's a very important muscle. And for the ladies, for example, carrying shopping is the primary muscle that aids with that. Well, I think most of the guys have got muscular trapezius from helping out. But the point is that the more stiff that gets, the more basically developed, and the more strength you can put into it, the greater and easier your daily life will be. But the dip is normally done very badly and doesn't allow for the fact that ladies have different shoulder girdles to men. A woman's shoulder strength, the weakest point of a woman's shoulder strength is this point here, where the collarbone meets the shoulder blade. It's called the rotator cuff. It is the reason why the lack of strength in this area, it's just how things are. Women have strength where we don't, but in this particular area, women have less strength here. So what happens is that it's shown in things like a man will throw like that, and a woman will throw like that. The actual ubiquitous girly throw. That is because of strength in the rotator cuff. When you strengthen the rotator cuff, you strengthen all manner of pulling and down and pushing. But if you do the dip wrongly, you can actively and ongoingly bugger up your rotator cuff. This is what we don't want to do. Okay, so if I can ask Chris, come over here and have a seat. Now what we're doing now is we actually figure out you can put your hands, sit on your hands. And now I'll stand here to make sure the chair doesn't move. And if you make your way out, Chris, till you're going to do a dip, tricep dip behind you. Okay. Now if you now lower yourself down until your arms bend back up again. And what you're trying to do here is, as much as possible, keep the back of the pelvis brushing the chair. That's it. Actually kiss it as you go up and down. That keeps your front shoulder very safe. And one more for me. And sit, please. Thank you. If you allow your feet to go too far out and go at this angle, where you go further and further out, the front shoulder pushes forward. You actively undermine the strength of your rotator cuff, and it will cause you a problem. And all the time in your head, you'll be thinking that's part of the good feel of what's happening across your shoulder girdle. In actual fact, it's not. You should be nearby, and you should be brushing the back of whatever you sit on, the chair, the sofa, whatever, when you do these things. And when you do it, if you can endeavour to hold like that and think in your head when you're pushing, push down the heel of your hand, you'll find that this area here goes right to here more. You will get more rear upper arm work by doing it. But you need to avoid taking your feet further out to begin with. Stay with the right angle feet and just move them further out like this as you get more proficient. There's no need for anyone, anywhere, to actually put their feet on another object, which happens a lot. Okay, that is a maximum. So anything where feet are higher, people are putting weights across here, it pulls the shoulder girdle forward and actually doesn't contribute at all to anything because it all happens behind you. You want it all happening here. If shoulders come forward, which they will do if you take your feet too far out, you're losing it. You need them like that, and you need your chest gently out and coming up and down like that. For a woman to do this at a 50+ age, it will damage the rotator cuff on the shoulder. And it might not be immediately apparent. You need to be careful with that when you do a dip. But a dip will cover your rear upper arm, cover all the way, all the groups under your shoulders, right up to a place called the occiput, which is this part of your head here. It's a very good all-in-one to doing that. But you must be kissing the back of the chair or whatever you're sitting on when you're doing it. Just as start with, maybe a month, 2 months, take your feet a bit further away, but always, because everybody's shoulder girdle is different, if you have a sensation of your shoulders coming too far forward as you go away, and stop, stay there where they're level, and then stay in that position for your exercising. Just concentrate on slowing the speed going up and down. That will give you more work, instead of having to change the position. But you'll keep the good biomechanics and get more work by slowing the speed down and not extending your feet away too much.
Hang on a minute, I've googled most dangerous exercises, bodyweight exercises, and this is supposed to be one of the most dangerous exercises you can do, and you've just been telling me to do it.
Yes.
So
it's only dangerous because, basically, let me show you. If you come over, do this, like that. People do it like this. They do it like that. Look at my shoulders. That is a dangerous exercise to do, because the shoulders, the cuff in the front again. But if you come back here, close in, you come further back, you're more consolidated. See how I've got the weight back? I can wiggle my fingers here. So I can do that, I've got a grip, but that shows you my weight is back on the heels of my hands. And you only go down, only to the right angle. It's a small descent. You do not go down here. Okay, so when you're doing it, you're kissing the back, and you're doing that, like that. That takes away. The biomechanics of the danger are where the shoulder girdle is excessively extended forward, and this has got nowhere to go, which is why the danger of it is in the shoulders. Yes, for men, but particularly so for women. Probably one of the safest devices to use for chest development in the last 30 years. Once you're using these, you do not need a machine. You do not need a pec deck, you don't need a bench press situation, you don't need to do it. You can do press-ups safely with these. And the reason for that is the fact that normally, when someone does a press-up on the ground, they're on their hands like this, and the back of the wrist is immediately compromised because you've got very little flexion in the human wrist, got a lot of extension backwards and forwards like that. So when you're doing this backwards and forwards, so the human movements to this, that is flexion, that's extension. Okay, when you're like that, there's a tightness behind your wrist to start with, and you're very restricted coming forward, and you're aware of that all the time as you're doing it. Your hands are on the ground. Any movement that you make, adjustments can't happen at your hand. They have to happen at your shoulders because your hands are fixed. So all of this is happening in your shoulders, and it's one of the reasons why women, I can't do press-ups. Okay, the press-up is a very good exercise if you're able to execute it safely, and the handles enable you to do that. What the handles enable you to do is to hold them and they're on the ground like this, and everything moves. The base is safe, everything on top moves. So all the adjustments in your shoulder don't happen at your shoulder at all, they can happen at your hands. So all the stress on the shoulder girdle normally associated with it is taken away. And when you're on it, the wrist is straight. So your wrist isn't back anymore like this, and you're not fighting with that. Result of which is a much better press-up. Now, when you get instruction leaflets with this, okay, let me advise you on this. If you're on your knees during press-up, there is little core involved, core strength involved. When you're in a normal press-up position, there's some core strength involved, but if you elevate the feet, as in a lot of the instruction leaflets, it ceases to become a chest exercise, it becomes partly shoulders. So if you want to have a pure chest exercise for men and women, particularly for ladies, okay, the actual on the knees is the way to go. I'm going to ask Chris now to demonstrate how people normally buy a pair of these and then use them. Okay, thank you, Chris.
Hang on, before I wave these around, do you have a financial interest in these?
No.
So where do we get these from?
You can get those from Argos, but probably the best place to get them online, because I have no interest in this whatsoever. It's just not ethical. Okay, is something called a Perfect Pushup. They're very high quality. It's a one purchase for life, and you'll never buy another pair.
Okay, so I put these down like this or like this?
It, like that. As you are, palms towards you.
Okay.
Okay.
And
then just use them as you would normally use them. Okay, back up again. Okay. And again. Okay, and now rest please, bring your knees on the ground. First thing you do is put your thumbs over, like that. Over them like that, that's it, so like that.
Okay.
Okay, and put your thumb on that side, that's it. Now turn towards you, that's it. Okay, now stay on your knees, Okay, and bring your head, walk your way till your head's over here. Okay, now take your knees further back. Okay. And now come and extend, leave the knees there and extend forward now to your head this side. Chest out. Okay, now come up.
Keep your knees.
Yeah, go straight arms now. Okay, no, to keep your knees on the ground though. That's it. Now bend, let the arms bend. Now let the arms bend. Let the arms, no, don't take the knees off. Just allow yourself to come down, lower the torso down, and back up again. That's it.
And what's the significance of having my thumb like this rather than like that?
If you have your thumb around the handle, you have your thumb on top, as long as it's over the top of the handle. If you have your thumb around it, when you engage the thumb, there's certain parts of your forearm when you engage, which encourage you to use the bicep, so you get a smoother up and down motion by doing it that way. And putting your knees on the ground and lowering from there is said to be a beginner. In actual fact, it's a purer presser position than the others. Like that, that's it. I can only go down to where you've got a right angle, Chris, so we are up to there. That's it.
And should I be keeping my elbows like this or
yes,
like this?
as you are, palms facing towards you. And come back up again for me. Now for you, you need a wider. So put the hands either side of the ring mat. That's it, and that's too wide. So basically, yes, you've got halfway house, you're half on off the mat really. Okay, okay. Now go down to a right angle, formed upright, there, and back up again. That's all you need to go down is to a right angle when you're doing this, because any further down, the front shoulder pushes forward. That's it. And when you're pushing up and down, think of pushing from the heel of your hand. Make the drive happen from the heel of your hand as you push up. That's it. That focuses it on there. That's it. Never go down below the right angle of the upper arm and forearm. There's no need to do it, because you place undue stress on the front of the shoulder. But when you're on your knees like that, you can control the speed, and you can also get a very, very good chest workout without having any problems. And also you won't be dipping your lower back as you do with the feet off. It's often accredited with the feet off the ground, knees off the ground, but it's a normal intermediate. It's actually not. Biomechanically, there's a lot of impurities about it. Okay. Exercising your shoulders with the dumbbell is a good way to do it. You've got to be very careful with the dumbbell to get what you need from it. And the adage is not about lifting weight, or training your muscles, can be achieved very well if you take note and use of the biomechanics. Okay? So if you're lifting a dumbbell sideways like this for your shoulders, okay, if your wrist is higher than your elbow, then you work here more. If your elbow is higher than your wrist, then you'll work your shoulders. So you'll increase the mass and the bulk of your shoulders if you go up here. Okay, you're more likely to. But if you come up with the elbow higher than the wrist, like the broken wing of a bird, you're more likely to shake this and decrease this. So for ladies, the elbow should lead. The men who want to consolidate their shoulders can lead with the hand. But you will always lift more when the elbow is higher than the wrist for that. And if you do that, you have twice the dumbbell there, because this is helping that. Okay? That's clear. Now just demonstrate with Chris. You can stand please, Chris, for me. And if you face the camera, and if you hold the dumbbell, now if you keep the arm out to you, moderately straight, not absolutely. Now lift to here for me like that, to there. Okay, and down again. Right down to your side. Again, one more for me. Right down to your side. Okay. And what you're doing now is to actually lift. Just think of the hand staying down there. Just push the elbow up instead of the hand. Okay. Extend the arm out a little more. Then lift like that. That's it. That's more difficult to do, because now what you're doing by lifting the elbow's higher than the wrist. The deltoid, which is the actual cone-shaped muscle on the outside, it's called that because it's shaped like the Greek letter delta. It's actually being worked more. So if you're after shape, the elbow should be higher than the wrist. If you're after strength and consolidation across your entire girdle, your wrist should be higher than your elbow. Now if you now straighten the arm and go up there, Chris, it's much easier, because you've got the trapezius in, which is the big muscle next to your neck. So it's preferable for ladies, really, to work with the elbow higher than the wrist, and for men, to work with the wrist higher than the elbow. Because what the ladies do not want is a very shaped, whipcord, chiseled trapezius. It doesn't look nice in an evening dress. Thank you, Chris. Now the hammer curl, used with a dumbbell, is for the arms, the front of the arms and the forearms. The hammer curl, in actual fact, is more of use to you in terms of shaping your arms in daily usage than bicep curls. A hammer curl is this, and a bicep curl is that. Okay? The use of the arm every day is done far more in the hammer curl fashion because that is how you stand with the hand next to you. Your shoulders are safer from doing it in every way. You lift up plates, you lift up a case, you lift up a suitcase with the thumb uppermost. You don't turn things and do that, because when you turn the hand this way, the back is engaged far more. When the hand is that way, the back is engaged less. So by actually working this upper arm like this so it's called a hammer curl because the hand is like hammering something. The hammer curl, when you squeeze at the top, it's important that you don't move the upper arm. If you move the upper arm, the front shoulder comes in. So you need to keep that upper arm still, and all of us have varying degrees of motion. Some of us will come to there, some will come to there. No matter where you go, it's where you get to with this still. If you come to here and feel the work in your arm, that's fine. That's a contraction. If you do this and think, oh, I feel that much more, yes, that's because you've lifted this and that is now compressed against the front shoulder. So all the good vibes you feel, that's much better work. You're actually feeling the muscles screaming for more blood. So that is a contraction, that is a compression when you do it. So I can ask Chris to come over here and do that for me. It's a deception, the work is deceptive. Okay, so keeping the upper arm still, like that, just come to there and squeeze.
Like this,
That's,
or like this?
well, thumb uppermost, in a hammer fashion. Yeah. And squeeze that and down again, that's it. Squeeze that down again, yeah. Squeeze that and down again. Now if you now come all the way up and squeeze again up there, you'll feel more work. When you get right to the top, you lift the elbow up as well to assist the whole thing. So if you lift the elbow up straight like this, that's it. Now you'll feel more work when you do that in your arm.
Excellent.
Yeah. And that's because you're stopping the circulation getting through. So I'm engendering, feeling the work more and still staying like that and squeezing, you stay in contraction, you don't block it. So the best way to do it is to keep your elbows still and squeeze. Keep your elbows still and squeeze. And what you're trying to do is induce the same feeling as you did when you went to here, but that's stopping the circulation getting through. So if you can induce it at this stage, then it's real work you're getting there. There's no stoppage of the circulation, which will happen. Because when you go all the way to the top, the bicep jams up against the front shoulder, and a lot of it is cutting the circulation out. By doing this, that's not happening. You're just making the muscle work. I might add that when you do this, that when you squeeze hard, contract the muscles hard, you add to the work. And it's a perfect way of doing it because on certain days, your contraction will be great. Next day, not so great, but they will be your best shot. So you can't overdo it because it's all you've got to give. So, and it will calibrate you on the day. The contraction is what you have on the day. So when you squeeze as hard as you can, when you're up there, Monday might not be as good as Wednesday, but they were best shot on the day and you won't overdo it, because if you overdo it in exercising, you'll immune suppress yourself 75% for 20 hours. And that much is fact.
Right, we've got to promote this because they're paying for the video.
Right.
So this is nut butter punch, which we drink, and good stuff, drunk worldwide. Excuse me, are you drinking nut butter punch? Could you come in, please? So you're drinking nut butter punch, just as we are, and is it a good drink?
Yeah, it's perfect.
And are we paying you to say this?
No.
And we're not getting paid for this, so this is all a genuine plug for nut butter punch.